What is going on, guys? My name is Daniel, and you're on Hustle Every Day. Today, we're talking about a neat little invention called the Advanced Chute Blocker. For those of you that don't know what it is, which if you're on this video, you probably do, but for those of you that don't, it's a system that you attach to your mower that you can open and close via a handle that stops debris from flying at houses, cars, kids, basically anything that you don't want that debris coming out of your mower to potentially hit. Owning a lawn care business like myself, there's a lot of situations that I'm in where something like this can be very handy. But at the same time, there's a lot of claims that are made with this that I don't know how true they are. Now, I don't know that they're 100% false, but a few things that I do want to cover, and also some things that you kind of have to watch out for when you're using it, because you could wreck somebody's property in a couple of different ways using this advanced chute blocker. So without further ado, let me get the camera turned around, pointed at this system, if you want to call it that, and we'll go over some of the pros and cons. I have a few video clips that I'll pop up here or somewhere on the screen that you guys can watch and kind of see exactly what I'm talking about, especially with some of the cons of the advanced chute blocker. So guys, let's turn around and get to it. All right, so this right here, this handle and this block off plate, along with this stuff down here that it all attaches to, the spring and whatnot, is the advanced chute blocker system. Now, mine doesn't have any of the decals on it or anything like that because I've actually spray painted it a couple times because it's got pretty scratched up. But it is the advanced chute blocker system. Now, something else that I've also done to mine, and you might be able to see from this angle, is I've cut the bottom of mine off. It's not the most perfect cut, but I did that for a couple of reasons. A, because it helps keep it from sticking out so far. The reason I don't like it to stick out so far is because if I'm ever cutting up against a fence or up next to a house and this thing would happen to drop a little bit, this can catch into a fence or catch on the side of a piece of vinyl, and it can really mess some stuff up. Now, even if this does not start to drop a little bit, and it can do that via bumps and things like that, if you're coming in at the wrong angle, this corner can still get caught up in especially a chain link fence, and you can do some real damage. Let me show you what I mean. So that was just a quick picture, but that picture was an illustration of how the corner of this can grab a fence. Now, I was stopped at that point in time just to provide that illustration, but if you're moving, if you're going 3, 4, 5, 8 miles an hour and the corner catches in a piece of the chain link fence, that piece of the fence is pretty much done for. It just completely destroys the fence. Don't ask me how I know, but I do know. The other aspect of why I cut this off is because when it's closed, bring this camera around here. Let's see if I can come in here. So as you can see, when it's closed, it gets pretty close to the ground. But when it was full length, all the way down before I cut it, if I was on a hill or uneven piece of ground, the corner of that would dig and create a pretty bad rut in the person's yard. It almost remind me of like a ditch witch or something like that, because it can dig a pretty big rut. Now, I know for those of you that know this system, you're probably throwing things at your computer screen or throwing your phone right now or screaming at me saying, but Daniel, there's spacers. Why didn't you use the spacers? You put the spacers in there and you can raise it up. Let me show you what I mean. So this plate right here is the plate where it mounts to the deck. They give you multiple mounting points. I use 3 bolts and nuts, one there, and one there. And what I was talking about with the spacers is these things right here. So they give you a bunch of different options, all the way from probably 1/4 of an inch all the way up to this, which is a couple of inches. And you basically put it underneath there and it'll raise it up. The problem with that is when you have this raised up higher, it makes that stick out even a little bit more. And if you do happen to hit something with this, the bolts just completely torque. Everything bends, everything gets really wonky, it's completely messed up, and there's not a whole lot of fixing it on the spot. You have to take the bolts out, replace the bolts, and it's a pretty big mess. Whereas when it's mounted like this, if you were to bump something, it's much more stable. It's mounted flat to the deck, and to me that just makes me feel a little bit better, because when I'm out working on the job, I want to try to eliminate the most possible restrictions that I can. That's why I have my toolbox in my truck with a whole bunch of different tools with me. I try to make things as simple as possible so that if something does break out in the field, I can take care of it while I'm out there. And if I have bolts bending and nuts breaking, that can sometimes be tough to repair out in the field. So having this mounted flat down to the deck really it just makes me feel better. So that's the way I decided to do it. But with that said, I did have to cut the bottom of it off because it dug into the ground. I basically had created a ditch witch with my advanced chute blocker. So something to keep in mind there. Now, the other aspect of the advanced chute blocker that I really want to talk about, because they advertise it as a mulcher, it doesn't necessarily mulch all that well. It might do a little bit of mulching because it does keep the stuff in there a little bit longer. But as you'll see here in a second, I'm going to flip the camera around. There's a nice little gap between the top of the deck and the top of the advanced chute blocker metal block piece, and it allows a whole bunch of debris to fly up all over you, in your face. And I have a little video of this. It's probably going to be hard to see because there is so much debris flying up at my phone, flying up at my face, that it looked like I was in like a sandstorm or something. But let me flip the camera around. I'll show you what I mean on the advanced chute blocker, and then I'll pop this video up and let you guys see an actual illustration of what happens. So this is kind of what I'm talking about when I say, the top of the deck and the top of the advanced chute blocker, there's this gap here. And no matter how hard you try to get that flush with the edge of the deck, there's a little, as you can see, I can fit my finger down through that, the edge of my finger, but that's enough for all the dust and chopped up leaves, especially on a dry, dusty day. That's enough to shoot everything straight up at your face. And there's not a whole lot of way to get around that, but kind of brings me to another point of why I have this dropped as low as possible, because you can see there is this little lip that assumably is supposed to help block some of the stuff from coming up on you. But unfortunately, it just kind of guides all the crap right up onto the mower. So it doesn't help a whole lot. But with that said, the higher the block plate is, the more stuff that's going to come through there. So that was another reason why I wanted to get it as low as possible, to try to block as much stuff as possible from coming in. But guys, look, don't take my word on it. Watch this little clip of me mowing leaves and dust and stuff like that with the advanced chute blocker closed. Like I said, if you can even figure out what is going on in the video, good luck, but it's pretty crazy. Guys, those are a few things you do have to watch out for with the advanced chute blocker system. But with that said, I don't want to make it sound like it's all bad, because this thing really isn't a complete waste of your money, especially if you can find it for a pretty good deal, because it does offer some relief in terms of knowing you're not going to shoot a rock at somebody's house, or somebody's car, or at a kid or something like that. Um, that's really a nice peace of mind. The other thing that I really like about it, for me, and I'm sure some of you out there have similar positions. I mow for a company that rents houses. I call it my property management jobs. I get sent like 30 or 40 properties a week. It's when they're vacant, in between people um, moving out and then moving in. And some of the houses are pretty random, as in I never really know where I'm going to be. I don't get to know any of the neighbors very well. So I run into things where, I pull up to a house and I'll have a neighbor just kind of standing out there, like, for literally like 20 minutes the whole time I'm mowing the yard, just waiting for me to mess up, or waiting for an opportunity for me to say I threw something at the vinyl, to blame the hole that's already in his vinyl on me. Stuff like that. Or people, when you don't have any sort of chute on your deck, people that walk out there are like, oh, you're one of those guys that takes your chute off and throws your everywhere, all over everything, when they don't realize that oftentimes you take your chute off because it just kind of spreads the stuff out a little bit more. It doesn't, kind of shoot it in lumps on the grass. At least that, for me, that's why I take my chute off. But the advanced chute blocker uh, provides the perception, I guess, of some sort of chute on your mower. So for those people, and maybe you've never ran into one of those people, but I personally have, more than one time, where people have approached me and been like, why don't you put your chute back on? Or why don't you put a bagger on that thing, or something like that? Or, man, I was sitting in my car and leaf dust blew all over my car. Why don't you put a mulcher on that thing? Like, a lot of people just don't understand the reality of running a lawn care business. If I was mulching grass, or if I was bagging grass or bagging leaves, what in the heck would I do with them? Where would I put that stuff? Where would I take it? I mean, it's just not a viable solution. Um, but this, for a couple $100, is a pretty viable solution. Like I said, there's still going to be some dust and crap flying up all over you, but if you have that neighbor that's just standing out there waiting to yell at you, this can this can provide some sort of, like I said, peace of mind that they aren't going to yell at you for throwing something their direction. And sometimes, it's not so much about, necessarily having to deal with somebody or getting yelled at, I guess. I mean, that does suck, but I know for me, I'm oftentimes in like a crazy time crunch, and I just don't have the time. I just simply don't have the time to deal with 10 minutes of somebody bitching at me about dust flying out of my mower. So that's where the advanced chute blocker can really help. And it has saved me a couple times where I've ran over, like a piece of bark or a piece of stump. I don't know, things in yards where I've heard it just smack the inside of that metal. And I've even hit things where it's hit the block off plate so hard that it actually knocks it open a little bit. And in those situations, my mower chute was facing somebody's house. And yes, stuff coming out of your chute will definitely crack somebody's vinyl. Don't think it won't, especially like those little red river rocks or black, whatever, the little river rocks, things that are light. Typically, like lava rocks, like the little red or black lava rocks, that kind of light rock, your mower will pick it up and shoot it out at 1,000 miles an hour. Like the river rock that's a little bit heavier, you can usually run over that stuff and you're typically okay. But that lighter stuff, man, that's like a bullet when it comes out of the side of your lawnmower deck. Ask me how I know. I was mowing my yard last year. I shot one of these little glow in the dark, like fish tank rocks that my daughter threw out in the yard. Little tiny thing, and it was actually broken. So I mean, it was tiny. I shot it out at the side of my mower and hit the side of my wife's car. It looked like a bullet hole. It legitimately it dented the metal, but I mean it didn't just dent it. It pushed the metal in like an inch. I've never seen anything like it. It was absolutely insane. And I just thought to myself, man, if that would hit a person, that could really do some damage. So with that said, the advanced chute blocker is not all bad. It just may not be your saving grace with everything. If you're looking for a mulcher, it may not be exactly what you're looking for. And if you're looking for something that is just going to be on there and you're really not going to have to think about unless you drop it down or raise it up, it's not necessarily that either. You know, you have to keep in mind that it's on your mower when you're, kind of coming up at an angle to a house or a fence or something like that, because it can catch on things. The handle itself can also catch on things, so you have to be careful of that. So real quick, before I let you go here on mine, another thing that went wrong was this broke off right here, so I had to re-weld that. That kind of sucked because that was one of those things where I was out on the job, this broke off, and I don't know, I just had to go home and re-weld it on, and you can kind of see my crappy welds right there. I didn't spend a lot of time, but it's sturdy and it works, so it's good enough. But other than that, do I think it's worth buying or worth having on your mower? As a lawn care professional, probably. Yeah, it's probably good to have on there. As I've said now twice, and I'm going to say a third time, it's a nice peace of mind. It's nice knowing that when you're in that situation, you can shut it and something's not going to fly out. If somebody's watching you, you can shut it and create that perception of, protecting their house, their car, their kids, their family, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's worth having. If you're a homeowner, I would say, just be careful. Maybe mow away from your house. Put a mulcher on your mower. That'll block it. That'll mulch your grass. Put a bagger on. If you're a homeowner and you have a small yard, it's probably not worth the hassle. But yeah, I'll let you make up your own mind. You can let me know what you think down there in the comments. If you have one, if you like it, if you have one and you hate it, let me know. If you're thinking about buying one and you have some questions, drop it down there in the comments. I'll be happy to answer, happy to help you out. Please do hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. I had a previous channel, I had about 7,000 subscribers. It got shut down, so that sucked. I'm starting over again. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button, hit the like, or hit the dislike if you dislike this video. If you did, though, just make sure you drop a comment down below and tell me why you didn't like this video. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you hustle every single day. Take it easy.